FL 180 Judgment. The judgment form is very important. Once this is filed, it will be your official form that will say you are divorced. It also acts as a cover sheet to your marital settlement agreement or the FL 180 attachments. To prepare the judgment, FL 180, first fill in the caption. Of course, the instructions can be found in our caption tutorial. Then, under the title Judgment, select one of the boxes as it relates to your case. Most likely, you'll be selecting the box marked Dissolution for Divorce, but it could be the Legal Separation box or less likely the Nullity box. If you're not doing the entire judgment packet, you may need to select one of the boxes underneath. These options are rare, especially when you're doing a DIY divorce. Next, fill in the date that your marital status or domestic partnership should end. This will be calculated at 6 months plus 1 day from the date the petition was served on the respondent, the other party. Or it'll be 6 months plus 1 day from when the respondent filed a response with the court, whichever is sooner. Watch our course on starting a divorce for more information. If this date has passed, then you will write in date judgment filed, unless you have agreed to another future date to when your marital status will terminate. This might be for health insurance or tax reasons. Select box 1 if your judgment contains restraining orders or if you are modifying existing restraining orders. You'll need to attach those restraining orders and fill in the date that they expire or end. In number 2, select one of the boxes to state how your case is proceeding. If you and your spouse are submitting an MSA or divorce agreement, you'll be selecting the second box, that your case was heard by declaration under Family Code Section 2336. In number 3, you are putting in the first of 2 days, either when respondent was served with petitioner's petition packet or when respondent appeared in the case. He might have filed a response or showed up to a court hearing. Again, you put the first of these 2 dates. For most, it will be when the petition packet was served on respondent. So you put the date, which should be on your FL 115 proof of service of summons or the FL 117 if you use mail service. Then check box A. The next section is related to the court making the orders you are requesting. Number 4, select box A and then number 1. Whatever date you wrote in the caption at the top of FL 180 is the date you write in here. Box B is for legal separation. Box C is rare, is for judgment of nullity. Box D is even more rare and unlikely applies to you. It happens if you had a judgment but the court made a mistake. Box E and Box G are also rare and happens when you file a judgment for your marital status to terminate and for no other reasons, or the judgment is now on the reserved issues you didn't deal with on the first go-round. If either of you are asking for your last name to be changed, mark F appropriately and put exactly how you want your name to appear. You can't put your entire name for clarity rather than just your last name. If you have child support, you must select box H and include a FL 192 with your judgment packet, and submit a FL 191 within 10 days after the judgment is entered. You can also include a courtesy copy of the FL 191 with your judgment packet, and in some counties it is required. Let's go to page 2. In the header at the top, fill in the last name and first name for each of you and the case number. If you have minor children with your spouse, complete 4I. 4J. Here's the first place that you have a difference between doing an MSA or the FL 180 attachments. If you're doing an MSA or other written agreement, you select box 1. If you're doing the FL 180 attachments, select box 2. You will complete the FL 341 and related forms and then attach them to the FL 180. Remember, you both should initial each page of every FL 180 attachment or sign them. If you already have orders and you're not doing anything new, select box 3 or box 4 depending on your case. Next, select box K if you have minor children and child support has to be addressed in your judgment. Again, This is the difference between the MSA and the FL-180 attachments. If you're doing an MSA or other written agreement, you just select box 1. If you're doing the FL-180 attachments, you'll select box 2. You will complete the FL-342 and related forms and then attach them to the FL-180. Remember to initial or sign all pages. Box 3 and 4 are just similar to the instructions for 4J. Now, let's go to spousal support. Mark 4L. Then, if you're doing an MSA or other written agreement, select box 4. If you're doing the FL-180 attachment, select box 3. You will complete, initial, and attach the FL-343. You might also mark 1 or 2 if it applies in your case, and mark to who, whether petitioner or respondent or both. Now let's go to property division. Select box M if property division is addressed in your judgment. If you're doing an MSA or other written agreement, this means you'll select box 1. If you're doing the FL-180 attachments, you'll be selecting box 2 and complete, initial, and attach the FL-345. If neither 1 or 2 apply, you can use box 3 and write in your specific property order. You can also include an attachment if you run out of space. The next option is 4N. This is attorney's fees and costs. If you're doing this on your own, you're unlikely to have any fees, so you can ignore this section. Let's move to 4O. Select box O if there are any other agreements to become part of your final judgment. If you have an MSA, you may write, as set forth in the attached marital settlement agreement and incorporated herein. Do not date the FL-180, as the judge will date and sign this form if it meets with approval after being reviewed by the court. Instead, you are signing and preferably notarizing your marital settlement agreement. And if you're using the FL-180 attachments, you are initialing or signing each page. Finally, at the bottom of this form in number 5, write in the number of pages that are being attached to the FL-180 form. You also want to read the notice in the box as it contains important information for when you will be considered no longer married.